having been around so many professional athletes for 20 plus years, I was like, why do we take such good care of our professional athletes, but we don't even think about the teenage growing body? And of course, that was my concern because I had a teenager. And being a mom who spent time on the sidelines of the NBA and the NFL and seeing how they get treated, and then also on the sidelines with all of my daughter's game and the snack situation, it's nothing healthy. And in my mind, I'm like, oh God, their bodies are developing and changing and growing. Why isn't this more of a priority? Why aren't we more concerned with education and with what our teenage athletes are putting in their bodies?
Hello and welcome to My Great Pivot. My name is Carrie Regan, and I share stories of brave, bold, brilliant women who've left traditional careers to launch their own businesses. This week's guest is Gayle Jones, a media producer who spent 25 years building a career most sports fans would envy. She's produced for the NBA, the Olympics, the NFL, and Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. Along the way, Gayle spent decades watching professional teams invest in the finest nutritionists, chefs, and recovery specialists money could buy. So when her own daughter, a teen athlete, had problems with recurring injuries and recovery, Gayle knew the core issue was nutrition. It inspired her to create FuelBoxx, a grab-and-go nutritional system designed specifically for teen athletes and backed by a certified sports dietitian. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Gayle Jones, founder and CEO of FuelBoxx, welcome to My Great Pivot.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
You have this amazing background, but first, can you tell us what a FuelBoxx is?
FuelBoxx is a nutritional system where we provide pre-game and recovery products for teenage athletes looking to fuel their athletic performance. So there are 2 pouches, 5 items in each pouch. The recovery one is protein heavy, of course, and the pre-game one is easily digestible carbs to help you perform, and hydration in both.
And how did you come up with this idea?
My daughter's a soccer player, a 16-year-old soccer player, and she has been playing soccer since she was 4. It's the only thing she ever loved. And in the last couple of years, it's sort of been disappointing. She's been getting injured. Her recovery has been really, really slow, and I knew nutrition was playing a part in that. And so I thought, if I could do anything to help her understand how important it is to fuel her body for what she loves and what she wants to do, I want to do it. And so I came up with FuelBoxx.
Now, a lot of parents would see this issue with their child and they would just try to address the issue with their child. What made you want to take it broader? At what point did you decide to take it broader through FuelBoxx?
I just thought, you know what? I am smart and very intentional about nutrition, and there was so much that I didn't know about fueling an athlete, and I can't be the only one. And I also thought, there's a lot of parents out there who are busy and it is not top of mind and they need a solution that is grab and go, very easy, but still fits the nutritional needs of an athlete who has a sport and they are looking to perform and recover at their best.
So you're solving multiple problems here. It's the kids who aren't eating right and fueling their bodies right, but it's also a big time saver for the parents who don't have time to go and assemble all these different ingredients to make sure their kids are eating right too.
It is. And it's just the education for both the athlete and their parents because, fueling your body comes way before you get a FuelBoxx in your hand. It comes the night before. What do you do after? My daughter yesterday had soccer, followed by track, followed by club soccer. And she came home and she got into a bath. And I said, well, how many grams of protein did you eat? And what was the timing around that? Understanding that you have all that stress in your body. You have to take care of the glycogen in your muscle. You need protein at least an hour after you perform. It's going to help those muscles recover and help you feel better.
Has she seen a shift in her performance since you've all started paying more attention to this and fueling her with the FuelBoxx products?
She definitely has, especially in her recovery. She's recovering a lot faster. She has not been injured as much. She understands what she needs to eat to feel light on her feet, to feel good when she's out there running. She now knows that she can't eat salmon and broccoli or something that's full of fiber right before she practices or plays a game. She understands the things that will upset her stomach, and she understands the things that will give her energy. So it's been a game changer for her.
And before we get into this more, because I have so many questions, you mentioned that you were a sports producer,
I
which is
was.
such an interesting background.
No, sports producer for 25 years or so. I started my career in sports. I started in Atlanta. I worked for the NBA on TNT, and then I produced a couple of Olympics, and then I worked for Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. I had a stint with the NFL. I had a stint with CNN, just a lot of TV and sports television, Winter Olympics and the Summer Olympics. And then one day living in New York, my husband said, "You know what? I was pregnant with my second child." He said, "You know what? You have to get off the road. You have to find a real job because I can't raise two kids by myself. Because when you're a sports producer, you travel all the time, and especially a lot of international sports with the Olympics and the World Track and Field Championships." And so I looked for a job. He worked at JP Morgan at the time. And I kind of said it, in a spiteful way. I said, "Find me a job at JP Morgan, where you work." And he was like, "I'm in finance, you're in sports. We don't do what you do. There's no jobs at my company with what you do." And I looked and I found a job at JP Morgan. I was in production there, but we worked very closely with sports and entertainment. And JP Morgan has lots of sports and entertainment properties, from the Arizona Diamondback to the Chase Center, and a lot of partnerships that we were able to do.
For FuelBoxx, were you doing this on the side while you were working as a sports producer?
I'd actually was working at a studio, nothing to do with sports. I moved to LA, and I said, well, when in Rome, this was the land of all the big studios. And I got contacted by a smaller studio to come work for them. And this studio was doing okay, but was suffering in the midst of all of the writers and director strikes. I worked for them for about 2.5 years. But as the writers and director strikes continued, the studio didn't survive. And so I was in New York in Central Park with my cousin, and my daughter had just gotten injured again, and she was so upset. And my cousin was like, What's wrong?" And I said, "Oh, it's Lucy in soccer." I said, "I wish I could teach kids how to take care of their bodies so that they're stronger and that they can prevent injuries." And she said, "Well, what would you do?" And it just came out of me. I said, I would start a company called FuelBoxx, where we teach kids how to properly fuel for performance. Having been around so many professional athletes for 20 plus years, I was like, why do we take such good care of our professional athletes, but we don't even think about the teenage growing body? And of course, that was my concern because I had a teenager. And being a mom who spent time on the sidelines of the NBA and the NFL and seeing how they get treated, and then also on the sidelines and on the field with all of my daughter's game, and seeing that the parents provide the snacks, and even at the school level. And we go to a pretty well-off school. She's in a private school here, and the snack situation is still the same. It's nothing healthy. And in my mind, I'm like, oh God, their bodies are developing and changing and growing and hormones. Why isn't this more of a priority? Why aren't we more concerned with education and concerned with what our teenage athletes are putting in their bodies? Because they are our future professional athletes. And I said I would provide products, and we would be an education platform for kids everywhere. And that's how it came to be. And I was like, and we would even like have a model that you buy a box, we donate a box to a kid in a food desert. But it just came out of me. And my cousin was like, "Now that you're free, you should do that." And I did. I was like, why not? So I took the chance and stepped into this crazy thing that we call entrepreneurship. And so FuelBoxx, I incorporated, and it was off and running. And we're still product developing, and we're still educating, and we're still hoping to change the landscape, hoping to get in on all the levels where it's important to educate parents, coaches, athletic directors, everybody, because this is $1 billion industry and no one is thinking about that level. Everybody's just thinking about the professional level. So, yeah, so that's how I came to be.
And it is about more than just educating the kids, right? It's about educating the parents. It's about educating the coaches. It's about educating the people who are heading up these sports organizations too for teens. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about them understanding that food is really important for these growing bodies for focus and just for mental health. My son, he is an athlete, but my son also suffers from ADHD. And last year he gave up sugar for Lent and he said, Mom, I'm not going to have any sugar. I just want to see what happens. And he was religious about it. He was committed. He had no sugar, nothing with added sugar, wouldn't even eat a Siggy's yogurt because it had added sugar, wouldn't even put ketchup on a burger because of its added sugar, wouldn't even eat a frozen pizza that had less than 1 gram of sugar. And what we found was that he was like, Mommy, I feel better in my body. I can focus more at school. So, what we put in our bodies, it really matters, you know. And so, when you talk about a teenage athlete who's looking to really, really stretch and push their body, it really, really does matter. So, we want to give them what they need to perform and what they need to recover so that it's possible that they reach their goals and their dreams.
At what
Yes.
stage did you hire a nutritionist? Was it for your kids' own personal needs, or was this
No.
you recognizing, like you said, this is a gap in the market that I want to
No,
address?
I had already started the company. I'd been out testing the market for 10 months, close to a year. And the parents said, We like the product, but you're not a sports dietitian or a nutritionist. And I was like, they're right, you know? And so I went out and I found Jessica Isaac and I said, I want to work with a sports dietitian that can help me product formulate. And that's when she came on board. So I wanted the product to be scientifically signed off, scientifically accurate and approved by a sports dietitian. So that was one of the first things that I did in building the company.
How did you identify her in particular among the world of sports nutritionists? How did you know she was the right match for you?
She wasn't the first person I reached out to. I reached out to a lot of people in Southern California and she responded. And I had a great couple of conversations, and her Instagram following was amazing. And not that that matters so much, but I could tell that kids were listening to her, you know, and they wanted
Yeah.
to know what they should eat before practice and how they should fuel their bodies. And she had such great tips. Like hydration doesn't start an hour before practice. Hydration starts at night. Hydration is not just water. This is why you need magnesium and minerals. And like her tips were fantastic. So I loved her energy. We hit it off right away. And I was like, okay, she's the one. So that's how the relationship came to be.
When you know, you know. And it sounds like
Yeah.
she brought not only the expertise, but also that credibility that would help on the marketing side as well.
She did.
Yeah.
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 For sure.
A lot of people have these ideas. What made you like, what was your next step in turning it into something concrete, turning it into an actual company? Because a lot of people would just go home after that trip to New York and this was an idea they had, but then they slide back into their regular life. What made you pursue it?
I called a lawyer right away and I said, I need to form a company. And he said, What kind of company do you want to form? And I said, A sports nutrition company. And he said, How do you envision? Do you envision this company being in your family for years? Do you think that you'll need to raise funds for it? Like, what is your vision? And I said, Well, I'm already over 50, so I envision running it for a while, but maybe I'll sell it later. And he said, Okay, well, we're going to file you as a C Corp. And he moved really quickly, you know, and we filed the company and I hired Jessica and just started testing the market. It happened all so quickly. It's almost like I didn't really take a lot of time to think about it. And you know what? I'll tell you, entrepreneurship it is more than a notion. So it's a good thing that I didn't really think about it because I think I probably would have talked myself out of it.
That's what I was going to say. You didn't give
So,
yourself time to talk yourself out of it. You didn't give yourself time for all of those well meaning friends to give you 1,000 reasons why it wouldn't work. We're all surrounded by this chorus of people who love and want to support us, but
mhm.
sometimes they can be those dark clouds that are raining on these little seedlings of an idea and kill them before they even have time to blossom. So,
Yeah, it was that childlike naivety that we have sometimes that, oh, I can do this, not real. Like even today, I mean, every day I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe. So yeah, it was naivety that, that childlike, I can do this, not really sort of thinking through all the things that it takes to be a successful entrepreneur, that resilience, right? That knowing that all it is pivoting. All I've done since I've started was pivot this and that. So it's been a roller coaster, but I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs feel the same way.
yeah, and as a producer, I feel like being a producer lends itself to being an entrepreneur as well. You're trying to assemble the best resources. You're trying to
Yes.
make use of resources that are oftentimes falling short of what you really need. You're trying to manage budgets and schedules. So it seems to me a logical pivot that maybe I'm just saying that coming from that field and knowing how tough that field has become with all these rounds of consolidation and
Oh yeah.
downsizing recently. But your position as a sports producer, too, it must have given you some tremendous insight into the lives of professional athletes as well and what they have to do to prepare.
Oh, totally. We totally take care of our professional athletes. We supply them with the proper dietitians and food. They understand hydration. We give them everything we need. So why don't we invest in the future? Why don't we invest equally in a teenage body that's growing and developing? And so, yeah, I did a lot of research too on the resources for teenage athletic programs and asked a lot of questions. How do you currently, fuel your team or fuel your athletes? And I was really, really amazed at the white space there, amazed that no one was thinking about teenage athletes in that way. So that's why I started the company.
It's really incredible. It's like you said, the orange slices and Doritos on the sidelines of the games are just not doing it for these
Yeah.
athletes, these young
No.
athletes. So, FuelBoxx, can you talk about what's in your FuelBoxx offering?
Sure. The other thing I'll talk about is, and this is a pivot, it was a box. It is no longer a box. It is a pouch. One of the early pieces of feedback was we love what's in the box, but the boxes are too cumbersome. We don't want to carry another thing. We want something that we can just stuff in our bag. So the fuel box is actually a pouch now. And it's a pouch that the kids they can clip onto their bag or they can just stuff down in their bag and that they don't have another thing to carry. But what's in it? So in the prep pouch is if it's a local event, it's been fruit, a piece of fruit or a piece of dry fruit, pretzels, a hydration stick, which we formulated. It's a FuelBoxx hydration stick, an energy bar, and right now it is a curated energy bar, but our own energy bar is in production right now. And it's applesauce with electrolytes. And it is 30 to 60 grams of carb, just enough, 1 gram of carb for every minute of performance. And I will tell you, the kids have been like, they love it. They don't feel heavy because sometimes we try to feed a kid a meal before they go out and they don't feel heavy. They have energy. So it's been really great. So in that box, there'll be two proprietary items. And, the long-term plan will be that the whole thing is proprietary, but for now, two proprietary items. And in the recovery box is protein. It's protein heavy. There is a Chomp's beef stick and then a little bottle of a protein shot called Pure Genius. It is something that's made by Mel Robbins. And I discovered it after listening to her podcast, and it really is pure genius. It has 23 grams of protein in it, and it's just a shot because I was giving big protein shakes, or protein bars. And that's heavy too. It's just a shot. It is so clean and the kids love it and it tastes really good. And then you also have, your dried fruit, you have carbs because you have to restore that as well. You have hydration in there. So yeah, it's protein heavy, that box, and then the other box is carbohydrates heavy.
Great. I love hearing this. I did triathlons for a number of years, and I remember for these longer races, a half Ironman races, marathons, having to plot my carb consumption down to the hour and knowing what I was going to have at each stage of the
Yeah.
race. And I never thought about bringing this to the world of kids nutrition too, but how critically important it is for kids
Critically
nutrition
important.
and these after school athletes.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have proprietary items in the box, and not only proprietary items, but proprietary items that aren't necessarily the same. It's not like you're producing different flavors of ice cream. How complicated has that process been?
It's one of the things that if I'd known what I was doing from day one, I probably would have done later on because it's expensive, but it's been great. I knew that I wanted an energy bar out there that was clean and delicious and something that the kids would enjoy. And there was nothing out there in the market. I've been through all of them with my kids. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to formulate my own. And I had a bar that I had been making for my kids for years and just decided to approach a company, U Bars here in California, and say, listen, I want to formulate this. It's been amazing because I've learned that whole process. And I knew that the protein bar aisle was saturated, but something that really gave energy and that wasn't full of sugar. And I was desperate to get something else like that in, the actual boxes for the kids. So I'm really proud of that product. It will be available in June. It's in production now, but it's been great. Had to learn all the things that go along with it, packaging, printer. So it's been really great.
It just feels like such a daunting process. Did you know to reach out to UBAR? You did a little bit of research. Did you compare a lot of different potential companies and partners?
I did. I'd seen an article on U-Bars in the New York Times that my cousin had sent to me. And then I was actually speaking with an entrepreneur coach. And I said, I want to get a bar formulated. And she said, oh, I know the founder of U-Bars. Here's his name. Call him. And so I called him and I said, listen, I have a bar that I've been making. I'm sure that with formulations, things have to change, in order for him to be shelf stable, but I want to give it a go. And he connected me with someone on his team, and we just start formulating. And formulation is set. They sent me the prototypes, got the prototypes out to my kids and to kids on the team and to moms, and we approved it, and now it's actually in production. It's like, wow.
That's amazing. So this is what UBAR does, that they will produce these custom bar blends for
Yeah.
other companies and
Yeah.
people.
And they have, I mean, if you go down an aisle in the grocery store, I probably would say 50% of what you see is produced by them.
Wow. And the fact that they make those services available to a startup too, how wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's everything from the printing of the label and packaging and all that, as well as the making sure the recipe, as you said, is shelf stable. And
Well, it's the recipe mostly. It's developing the recipe, making sure it's shelf stable. But then you have to go and find a packaging designer, which I did, to develop your packaging. And then once that packaging is developed, you have to send that packaging to UBAR for approval. And then you have to find another printer to actually print it. And so UBAR put me in contact with a printing company that they use for all of their packaging, and they've been great. So, yeah, it's been a huge learning opportunity for me. I've enjoyed it.
it's amazing. Again, I think that a lot of people have these ideas that they want to create these products and they don't understand the process involved. So I appreciate you walking us through all that. Are you going to release the bar independent of the FuelBoxx pouches?
I am.
Oh, that's so
I am.
exciting.
Yeah, it will be available on my website. I'm not sure about retail yet. I'll talk about this a little bit. One of the many pivots that I've made is my sales strategy. At first, it was direct to consumer, but now I have pivoted to B2B. So we tested the direct to consumer, but we found that B2B was just a more powerful distribution engine for us. So we learned that acquisition is tough. it's fragmented. It takes a lot of time to acquire that one parent on Instagram. That marketing engine has to be huge. So organizations showed us demand and a faster route to scaling, So we moved to where the leverage was. And so now we're B2B and we're talking to more organizations and it's the smarter route for me. So I'm really excited about it.
So again, on your website, the consumers could subscribe to the FuelBoxx pouches independently, but the customer acquisition costs, getting those people individually was super, super high. When you talk about the B2B model, what kind of organizations are you targeting then?
We are targeting clubs and teams and tournaments. We are targeting sports facilities around the country. Organizations need a system for fueling their athletes. It is the one thing that's missing. They have everything. They need a system, coaches, clubs, schools. They are directly responsible for fueling those athletes, and they don't have a system. So it's been great talking to all these coaches and organizations and understanding their pain points and sort of meeting them where they are.
Have you looked at vending at all and explored vending options for
Yes,
some of these?
yes.
What's that
Just
like?
just beginning that, just beginning that. So I don't really have a lot of information, but just contacted a guy in Texas who sent me the information for vending. So that's going to be in the next couple of weeks, just trying to figure that out. But yeah, I just recently made this pivot from direct to consumer to B2B. So there's a lot to explore out there, and vending is up next.
And well, you have so much going on. I mean, just creating a bar for young athletes, that alone feels like a business unto itself. But
Yeah.
then you've layered on all these other elements as well. Yeah, it's a lot. Do you have a big team? Is it mostly just you right now?
I have there's three and a half. I have a half 20-hour a week. So there's a few of us, but no, I do not have a big team. The next big thing, FuelBoxx, is to raise
Mm-hmm.
capital
Mm-hmm.
so that we can acquire salespeople and can continue to product formulate and do all the things that we need to do. So that is the next big step. And I think that look, I'm pre-seed, self-funded, and not paying myself yet. So I think that even this pivot to B2B is going to be great for me because it stretches, the capital that I have right now the furthest, and it's going to allow me to be successful in that way. So yeah, so the vision for FuelBoxx didn't change, just the path. So,
Can you talk about some of the human resources who those 3.5 people are on your team and how you recruited them?
yeah. So I count Jessica, my sports dietitian, and like I told you, I just found her online and we hit it off, and yeah, that's been great. And then I have another lady who is just began and she's doing sales. She's out of Texas and she has been great because she took the product and she drove it around to facilities. And her daughter is a club volleyball player as well. And these facilities were like, oh my God, this is great. We have nothing like this. So sales. And then I have a social media person. And then the half person is sort of like marketing slash VA that helps with things like we will be at the Black Expo here in Los Angeles this weekend, and it's an education summit, but we will have a booth and, we will be talking about what we do and educating teens on fueling themselves before and after. So she handles a lot of those things. So yeah, that's the team.
What would you say is your biggest competition? Is it those vending machines that are only giving kids M&Ms and Cokes?
I'll be honest with you, I don't see competition. I think that this is totally open white space. No one has or is doing what we are doing. If you look, the competitive set is look at Gatorade. They don't have anything like this. Is it Chipotle that parents go and they bring Chipotle to the game after? It's like I don't see a big competitive set out there right now for FuelBoxx. That's why this is so exciting. It's because no one else is doing it.
Yeah. And you said you're not sure about retail just yet. Was that for the bar or was that for the fuel box as well, the fuel box pouch?
I'm not sure about being on shelves, meaning like a Whole Foods or, because that is costly. We'll see. We'll see. Down the road, maybe, but we're going to start small and work our way up.
Yeah, having those pre-orders that you can fill to help
Yeah.
bankroll it.
Yeah. Having the teams and clubs on a subscription model.
And you mentioned you started as a box, so you had to design the box, and then you shifted to a pouch. So you had to then go design a pouch as well. But
Yes.
with this subscription model, I imagine they could recycle these pouches and whatnot to decrease their and your costs. Are you looking at that, or is that not part of the process?
No, there's no recycling quite yet, but that is definitely something that is top of mind, the sustainability of it all for sure.
And for the hydration stick, is that a proprietary product
Yes.
as well?
Yes, it is. It is. And we have those on hand. It's something that I really should be selling separately right now, but I haven't. But one flavor, lemon lime, and I partnered with Halo Hydration to make that. And it's great. It has magnesium and minerals and all the things that the kids need to properly hydrate themselves. So,
That's great.
yeah.
What have been some of the best and most helpful resources you've had along the way? Because you didn't have a business background per se, correct?
Yeah, I did not. My husband does. He went to Columbia Business School and he is great for advice, but he is so kind to have given me access to a couple of his business buddies who do this for a living. And I have a mentor, a friend of ours, who sort of mentors me through go-to-market strategy and the sales cycle and all the things that you don't know as a television producer, right? Figuring out what point of the sales cycle to abandon or, what point to push it to the next level. Understanding who your ideal customer profile is and understanding who isn't, so you're not wasting time. So he's been great. And just really understanding the why, making sure I keep that in front of me, understanding the why I did this in the first place. So those have been the greatest resources. And also some teams that I've gone out and have worked with me and who have given me lots of feedback on the product. Feedback is a gift. And in the pouches are cards, and it says, "Hey, parents, would love your feedback. Hey, kids, what do you like?" And you just scan the QR code, and the feedback comes directly to me because I want to know. I want something out there that's going to really, really be supportive of these teen athletes and to get them to start thinking well before they get the FuelBoxx, but start thinking about what they put in their body and how that equates to how they perform and recover.
And so I love that there's that education component. How are you packaging the education in addition to these cards? And is it information on the website? And I know that you're also giving these presentations at events. What's the main thrust? Are you planning on having an app of some sort?
Yes, an app would be great. So an app is something that I thought about the app before I even thought about anything. I thought
Mm.
about how I'd love to personalize it and, have the biometrics of an athlete
Mm.
incorporated into an app so we knew exactly the right way to fuel each athlete. So that's on the horizon. But in terms of education, even on the packaging explains why we're giving them each item, and why it's important. Hydration, fruit for the vitamins and mineral, protein restores your muscles. So at every touch point that we get, we're hoping to educate. Even the Instagram is 80% education. It is not just pushing the product. It is, hey, teens, this is what you should be eating the night before. Hey, parents, education is really, really, really important to me. I want to be a platform for education as well as have a successful product.
I love that. You mentioned that you're going to be looking for funding. What has that process been like preparing for that?
It is going to be the toughest hurdle for me, if I'm honest, because I don't like to ask. Uh, yeah, I have to get over that. It has been preparing the deck, explaining exactly where we are, the traction we've had so far, who our market is, the market, us explaining the market opportunity. But it's really been a great exercise for me to think through that. And then the capital needed and why it's needed. And so right now, I think that in preparing for the raise, I'm preparing myself with all of the questions that I think they may ask me. All of those tough questions that I need to prepare for when I go in to do a pitch. That's where I am with the raise, just trying to prepare for those questions.
Yeah, and having that personal story that you have and you express so eloquently, I'm sure will help. We all know that as a producer, I was in development pitching stories and having
Yeah.
my series shot down again and again and again, how rough that can be and how you have to develop that thick skin. But
Yeah.
yeah.
In my morning session this morning, I call him my mentor because he's done this a million times and he has many successful companies. He's like, Gayla, your alter ego needs to go in that room. So we are, yeah, we're preparing me and we're going through all of what we think they want to know. And we're just getting all the evidence. And we think we have a really great story. And we're really fortunate because, like I said, it's something that is white space in the market. And we're also really fortunate because we have really solid early feedback from the customers. So we think that we've proved that the market wants this, and needs this. We feel like we're solving a real problem for teenage athletes and coaches and all of the above. So we're really excited about it.
It really is amazing when you think about it. I mean, I've seen sports bars or nutrition bars for kids, and I've seen them for adults, but I haven't seen anything for this market.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really does feel like this real opportunity in this white space that you have discovered in the market. At what point, because I think everyone as a founder goes through this, at what point did you feel like you were ready to come out and tell everyone this is what I'm doing? Did you do it from the start? Were you nervous at all about it when you changed your LinkedIn profile over to founder and CEO of FuelBoxx? Was it something that you were nervous about or ready for?
I'll be honest with you. I think I did it too soon. I probably did it 8 months after I incorporated the company, but I still think that was a bit too soon. But I felt like announcing it to the world was going to help me and push me further to really, really make it happen. But when you announce something to the world, they also keep you accountable. But I have been authentic and very honest about this journey. I've shared this journey on LinkedIn and all the social about the ups and downs of this journey. But, I will say in recent days, I've been like, oh my God, did you share too soon? You should have built a little bit more before you shared. I can't regret it too much because no matter what happens in the end, I think that people have appreciated the story and the honesty and seeing the hustle. And I told them, I had to pivot and why. And they love the honesty. They love the storytelling. They love seeing me package up all the product, delivering it to teams. So I guess I guess it's okay, even though sometimes I feel like, oh God, you should have just kept your mouth until something was better. But my husband always says, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So get out there, tell your story. You never know who's there and who can support you. And the problem I see right now with social media in general is people post everything that's perfect, and that's not life. So I'm I'm okay with sharing the journey. I'm okay with sharing, the ups and downs. And I've posted on days where I'm like, why did I do this? Oh my God, I had such a great life and now like I'm stuck, even though I don't feel like I'm stuck. I just the realization of this is going to take a lot of work. Your life has changed for a long time because you have birthed another baby because that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
It's so true. It is birthing another baby. You know what's so funny? The episode that launched today, the founder, Lindsay Scher, she said, when founders need those accolades and that support, it's not when you first post, it's 8 or 9 months later. It's
Yeah.
like a baby. Everyone's there for you and has the baby shower for you and is so supportive when that baby's new in the
Yeah.
first few weeks. But it's 8 or 9 months later when your hair is falling out and you're like so distraught and you're at wit's end that you really need someone to come along and say, you're doing a great job, you
I
know?
totally relate to that. Totally.
Well, that's what this podcast is all about, too. I
Yeah.
think that there's so much celebration of these founders who have made it. And a lot of times they do share the bumps along the way.
Hmm.
But I think that founders need to hear the challenging parts too and hear how people are navigating it too, because it is something that everyone goes through. So often we do see the highlights reel rather than the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for hearing someone else's behind the scenes that makes you
Yeah.
feel less lonely in the whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's when people say it's a roller coaster ride or a faith walk, it really is. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Every day I'll say, "Oh my God, why did I do this?" I was talking to my best friend this morning. I was like, "Oh my God, my life is forever changed." And if I would have known all that I know now, I don't know that I would have done this. I'm glad I'm doing it, and I know it's going to be successful, but it is hard work. It's a lot of hard work at this stage in my life, 50 plus and, worked a lot of corporate jobs all my life. And just to take on this challenge that, it doesn't really just change my life. It changes the life of my family. I've, again, totally self-funded this. That's money that is out of our house, away from my family and kids and into this business. So that added pressure is real. And the struggle is real, but I know that when it gets its wings, which it will be worth it all. And I just have to remind myself every time I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't, everybody would be doing it. So I have to remind myself of that as well.
That is so true. And I feel like there's something about the personality of people who are attracted to production, that we have those highs and lows in production.
Yeah.
And I've got to think entrepreneurship lends itself to that same environment.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship has those same highs and lows.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. I see a lot of parallels in the journey of production and entrepreneur for sure. Yeah.
So you've talked a lot about things that you would have done differently. What are some of the things, pat yourself on the back, that you think you really did right?
I think formulating the hydration stick was one of the most important things that I've done because hydration is so important. It's important for you and it's important for kids. It helps with focus. It helps with so many things. So I think that that was really, really important. I think having a sports dietitian who's by my side, who is focused on science, was really important. I think just to be honest, the other thing that has nothing to do with the product, but just with this journey is taking this step at the age that I am and at the age where my kids are at 14 and 16, where they could see me take a risk and they can see how hard I'm working and fighting for this and really understand the why. This was never about revenue or building $1 million company. It was about having a daughter who was struggling because she wasn't doing right by her body and realizing that she's not alone, that there are, millions of kids out there who are in the same boat, and then millions of more kids out there who don't even have access to foods that will, really, really support their development and growth. So just taking that step, it was just really important. However, it ends up, I'm just really glad that they have been able to witness the journey because there are lots of lessons. And again, I am so grateful for all of these lessons, the good and the bad. And I'm learning in a way that I might not have thought was possible at 50 plus. I'm learning all new things from packaging design to customer acquisitions to distributions to learning who my ideal customer, all these things that I hadn't learned before. And it's really exciting. So even just seeing that side of their mom, I think that it's really important that they know that whatever is important to them in life, that they have to go for it. And I think that whatever comes of FuelBoxx is going to be great. And I think that sometimes, you envision something, but it ends up something else. So even in the field as a producer, you go in the field with your notes and your outline and what you think the story's going to be, but it changes and it develops once you get out there. So me just being open to where FuelBoxx may go and how it may develop. It may be totally different than what I envisioned, but I know that I'm supposed to be doing this right now, and that's something that the world is lacking is going to come out of this. So I'm grateful for the journey, and I'm grateful for the experience, and that my kids have a front row seat to witness this journey with me.
It really is an incredible lesson for your kids.
Yeah.
How many times in their lives are they going to face adversity
Yeah.
and think back to what their mom did and how she started something from scratch on her own and saw all these days where it was a struggle for you, but you still showed up and you
Yeah.
still fought for this idea that had real meaning.
Hmm.
What an incredible lesson for them. Have they been part of this journey in any way? Are they packing fuel boxes with you?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, they've been packing. They grab their fuel box. They share on the social channels. They've told all their friends about it. Lucy, she has even come up with strategies for social media and how to reach people. She wants to be in sports marketing. So she's like, Mom, I'm going to work for you this summer. So yeah, they've showed up. I think that the one thing that I hopefully teach my kids is love shows up, whatever kind of love that is, whether it's love for what you do, you show up, love for the people in your life, you show up. And so as I'm on this journey, they are showing up for me too. So I'm really grateful for that.
You have so much on your plate in terms of you've got the funding round, you're pivoting to B2B and recruiting customers and whatnot. But still, your brain must wander and think about brand extensions and what's next for FuelBoxx and what more you could do with the FuelBoxx brand. Do you have anything you're willing to share?
Yes, there is a company that reached out to me, a league, LOVB, and they are the newest, really exciting professional volleyball league here in the United States. So they've reached out to me for a partnership. They have sponsors that are amazing, much more, established. They have, I think Yeti is a sponsor, Chase is a sponsor, but they have a really, really great infrastructure. They have six professional teams with two more coming in the next 2 years. And then they have club teams with 30,000 athletes all across the country. And so we've gone back and forth with what different partnerships opportunities could look like. And we're still sort of in negotiation because, again, even, even at that level, like, they have everything. The missing thing is the education and how to properly fuel, especially their club athletes. I'm sure the professional teams have, the dietitians and the chefs, and they understand the timing around all that. But club teams, again, it's parents and coaches, and parents bring Doritos and Gatorade or whatever else. So we're trying to figure that out. I don't know if it'll happen yet. There's no contract on the table right now, but we are working. But yes, I have, I came from the world of sports, and I have access to a lot of professional sports people in my network. But the other thing is, uh, switching to B2B is just to stay focused right now on a narrow path right now, and then proving that that narrow path works before expanding. My mentor, he says, Facebook started at Harvard in one classroom. He's like, Gayla, let's just stay focused. So yeah, and even so, when the contract for the partnership for LOV came across my desk and I said, look, he was like, stay focused, Gayla. Let's stay focused. Maybe a couple months down the road, let's build this company the right way. Because, those partnerships, while would be really great for my brand because it would be FuelBoxx, the official snack kit of whoever, right? Those partnerships cost money. Like they
Yeah.
want you to invest. And he's like, you're not there yet. He's
Yeah.
like, you're not paying yourself. So let's get there. Let's stay narrowly focused and let's build the company the right way and the smart way. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm chomping at the bit for those, but in due time.
We need Melinda Gates to buy these for the Boys and Girls Clubs across America. Melinda, if you're listening, FuelBoxx, give Gayla a call. There's this concept, I'm sure you've talked about your advisor with this. There's this concept of a moat around a brand and how you protect your brand from competitors. How do you protect FuelBoxx from people just going out and assembling their own? Are you really able to offer economies of scale and a lower price point than were people to buy all these products individually? Of course, you also have your proprietary products that are lower sugar and nutritionally balanced.
And that's what we're counting on. We're counting on the proprietary products, the things that aren't out in the market to help us build that moat. We know that we're starting with two, but as we can grow the company and raise revenue, which is why we're quickly trying to raise funds, is we know that everything in the pouches will need to be proprietary.
Yeah.
But also, I will say this is for the athlete who's in a club sport right now, whose parents pay $2,000 plus for this and that, whose parents want the convenience of grab and go, something that's nutritionally clean and can give them sustained energy, For now, like I said, the hope is to get the product out to anybody who needs it. We want the product to go wide and far, but we have to put our life vest on first and get the product out to the people who can afford it and
Yeah.
then build that. And then we'll definitely get the product out to those who can't because just I think that was one of the things that was the most important thing for me when I built this brand. I said, oh, if you buy one, we're going to donate one to a kid in need. Equity is always top of mind. And I had, our fractional CFO and a lot of advisors say, you got to put your life vest on first. Secure you. Make sure you still have a company. And then you'll have an opportunity to do plenty of good around the world. So that's what we're doing now. But the end goal is to make sure that equity is part of the equation. And again, we are reaching kids in food deserts. We are giving everybody a fair chance to learn and to have access to things that will fuel their mind and body and performance.
I love that. You mentioned parents whose kids are involved in, say, club hockey, and they're driving 8 hours maybe
Oh, yeah.
across the US to a tournament. The last thing that they want to do is have to go to a grocery store and buy all these individual ingredients to meet their kids' nutritional needs during this weekend where they might be playing 3 or 4 games, right?
I've been talking to a lot of volleyball tournament organizers, and they tell me, like, in between matches, this product would be amazing because the kids go to vending machines or they eat nachos or, just really unhealthy things. So, yeah, there's really a need. I mean, the kids who play any sport and they get on the bus and they drive an hour could use something quick and easily accessible. And I think that also that the timing of things are what people don't consider. There's a window that's really important for athletes, that 30 to 60 minute before to get inside of you some clean, easily digestible carbs, right? To give you the energy you need. That 30 to 60 minute window after you perform to, get protein in you to restore the muscles and restore that glycogen in your muscles. It's really important. So that's why this product will be a game changer for those athletes and families and coaches and clubs. So, yeah,
Yeah. Do you have any other outreach programs like student ambassadors that you're planning on tapping in order to introduce the product in some of these communities?
it's so funny. It's part of what I'm going to hire for this summer is student ambassadors to go out and find schools and clubs. And yeah, it is on the list.
I have one for you.
You do?
I do. It does seem like this younger generation is a lot more attuned to what's going into their body. Maybe not with my 16-year-old stepson, but with other kids out there. Just getting that kid to hydrate,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just such a challenge.
It is. It is. You're dizzy.
Yeah.
You wonder why you're not hydrated. Yeah. Can't
Yeah.
focus. You wonder why you're not hydrated. Yeah, I get
I
it.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be respectful of your time, especially knowing all you have on your plate. What advice would you give to those women who are aspiring founders? Maybe they're in a job that they hate. Maybe their industry has completely shifted and they're suddenly finding themselves at 50 and needing to pivot careers. What advice would you give those who want to start their own business but don't even know where to begin?
I think you always have to begin with your why and keep that in front of you and be true to that. And also understand how resilient you have to be because the resources for learning what you need to do are out there, but it's a long journey, right? So you have to be resilient and you have to understand that things will change every day and you'll have to pivot. And entrepreneurship is just a series of pivot. But if you're resilient, I think that it will pay off. So I would say keep your why in front of you and just seek resources. Get into a community of female founders who are doing what you want to do and just people you can lean on emotionally because it gets tough, it gets really emotionally heavy some days where you just need support. You need to call someone and cry. You need to share your journey. So yeah, that would be my advice.
I love that, having that why in front of you that will always remind you why you're going through all this, right?
Yeah.
How can people find you and find out more about FuelBoxx? And if there are companies out there or organizations, sports organizations that want to know more about FuelBoxx, how can they find you?
They can go to our website, www.fuelboxx.com with two X's. We are on social everywhere. They can look me up on LinkedIn, and I would love to speak to them and tell them a little bit about us and our goals. And anybody, if you want to get the product or if you just want the education, or it's not just about the product, it's about educating these teenage athletes as well. So even if it's just like an education forum where we sit and we talk to kids, we bring a sports dietitian and we go over all of the things that they need to do to be healthy and strong and successful on their athletic journeys. I'm here for it all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing the FuelBoxx story, Gayle Jones. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks to Gayle Jones for such an honest and inspiring conversation. To learn more about FuelBoxx, visit fuelboxx.com. That's FuelBoxx.com. And if your team, club, or sports organization is looking for a smarter way to fuel your athletes, Gayle would love to hear from you. Just click on Partner with Us at the top of the page at the FuelBoxx website. And big news, remember that nutritional bar Gayle mentioned? The one she developed is a tasty, lower sugar alternative to the ones you find in the grocery aisles. They're coming out in July. Don't forget to visit FuelBoxx to snatch some up for the teen athletes in your life. And don't forget about our female founder wish list. Head to migratepivot.com and click on Founder Wish List at the top of the page. There you'll find Gayla's Wish, a mentoring session with a B2B growth and sales advisor, especially someone who's closed institutional deals with CPG, food services, and or youth sports. While you're there, check out the wish list of our other founders and see if you can lend a hand. If you can help one of our founders, we'll give you a shout out on the podcast and our socials. As always, links are in the show notes. My Great Pivot is a production of the Female Founders Project. If you like this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to share your own entrepreneurial journey, we'd love to hear from you at thefemalefoundersproject.com. Thanks for listening and keep innovating.